A month ago, Billboard released a list of the top 100 album covers of all time, and yeah, it's not good. I feel like this list is pretty biased, and sometimes it's based more on the music than the cover itself. What makes an album cover good or bad is highly subjective. There's lots of people who love album covers that I think are trash. There's also album covers which I like that a lot of other people wouldn't. I can't help if I like something, you can't help if you like something. It's all subjective. My opinions in this video are just opinion. That being said, everything I say in this video is correct. Also, I don't make many videos, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do for the visuals on this. I don't have a rant Sona. I'm sorry. All right, let's just jump into the list. Number 98, Ariana Grande Sweetener. Generally, I think a lot of album covers, which are just photos of the artist, aren't great album covers. This album cover is just a photo turned upside down. You could say it's iconic, you can say the purple hair is unique and the colors on the album pop. I mean, it's not the worst album cover. It's certainly better than the cover for Positions, but there is so little happening. It's definitely not one of the top 100 album covers of all time. I think number 72, Whitney Houston self-titled, is especially bad. The orange on it stands out, but like it's just a photo of her. It's a pretty boring album cover. This might be a hot take, and I'm sorry if this is a bit too controversial, but number 61, Beyonce's self-titled isn't great. It's boring. It's been done before. The Beatles literally did the solid color thing in the 60s. Like we've seen it. I will say though, hypocritically, number 58, Johnny Cash's American 4, The Man Comes Around. I actually quite like this even though it's got the solid black and it's a photo of himself. I think it's just like it's really austere. It's just like a striking image. I find it moving, whereas Beyonce, it doesn't really do anything for me. Number 51, Map of the Soul 7, The Journey by BTS. This should not be here. The art with the flowers is fine. I mean, I'm not even crazy about it, but it's fine. But the BTS logo just looks bad here, and there's like so much empty space, they needed more flowers. All right, jumping now all the way to number 3, we got Patti Smith's Horses. I guess you could say it was progressive for the 70s with the black and white photo and like the androgynous style. Like, it's iconic, it's punk, but is it the third best album cover of all time? No, it absolutely is not. It is not. By the way, the number 1, if you're wondering, is the Velvet Underground and Nico, and it's got this banana sticker on it, which you can peel off. I like that album cover, so I'm not gonna complain about it. I don't know, like if you don't like it, then I don't know, whatever. It's not relevant because it's a good album cover. All right, so why am I making this video talking about bad album covers? Well, that's because on Twitter, aka X, I saw a tweet about the new Olivia Rodrigo album, Guts, and it said, I know she's a new artist, but the lack of energy can't go unnoticed. This is her second album, and she's still giving us these basic photo shoots with no concept. I miss when the 2010s girls, Nicki, Gaga, Katy, Rihanna, and Beyonce, used to give us proper eras. And to this, a Nicki Minaj stan account said, I guess that's her whole vibe, basic edgy teen pop girl, and the general public eats it up every time, I can't even hate. To which OP responds, Sour Era was good, but Guts Era just feels like a B-side of Sour and not a brand new album. Now this tweet was a little controversial, lots of people saying stuff about how the music industry has unreasonable expectations for women. And while there is some truth to that, the Guts album cover sucks. And a lot of the concept art and theming was underwhelming too. And I'm here to talk about why that is and talk about some ways it could have been better. Now, before I start talking about album artwork, let's cover a few things. Olivia Rodrigo released her first album, Sour, May 21st, 2021, and her second album, Guts, just came out September 8th this year. If you don't know who she is, well, I mean, that's not necessary to understand this video, so look her up on your own time. I'm not going to give you her biography. She's a 20-year-old Disney actress turned pop star. Also, this video is not a review, but I think the album's solid. I'm not coming for the music. I'm only coming for the art. I think Vampire is amazing. And to touch on the topic of unreasonable expectations, expecting every artist to have a new era each album is unreasonable, but expecting artists to have a good album cover and concept is not. People on Twitter were also like, it's only her second album, and like, so she shouldn't be moving backwards. She shouldn't be putting less effort into the second one than the first one. Okay, let's talk album covers. Before we dive into Guts, let's talk about Sour. I think this is a great album cover. Yes, it is a photo of the artist, but it's an interesting photo of the artist. The shade of purple makes the album cover pop, the stickers on the face make it unique. It's something you're gonna remember. The album title on the tongue is really original too, and the annoyed expression on her face both shows her angsty, defiant personality that you hear on the album, and it is a sour face. It shows you what the album is. When you ask what sour means and what this album's thesis is, you are shown through the cover. The album cover is also great because it shows Olivia's personality as this relatable teenager who's not got this perfect, clean image. She's got a lot of the same struggles that most teenagers have. She's going to be genuine and unfiltered. Being her first album, not everyone knows who she is, so it makes sense not to just market the album Sour, but also to market Olivia. And it's not false advertising, it's really accurate. The reason why this album was so successful is because she writes about the teenager experience in a really authentic and relatable way. And the last reason why this album cover is good is because it's instantly iconic and easy to imitate. It's not extravagant. For one of my clubs in college, we actually did a Sour photo shoot to announce our board members, but no one is doing that for Guts. Alright, let's talk Guts. It's a bad album cover. Straight up, I think it's bad. It's a bit of a nothing album cover. There's very little being conveyed, and when I first saw this, I was just left wondering, what is Guts, the album? Because this doesn't tell me. What is Guts about? How is it different from Sour? Why should I want to listen to it? To explain why it's bad, let's start by breaking down all the components of this album cover. The background is purple again. She could have changed it to another color and avoided many of the people who were calling it Sour Part 2. But actually, I think it was a smart decision, and it probably is the only thing I like about this cover. What she's done is she's cemented purple as part of her brand. It also tells us that this is still Olivia, who we got to know through Sour. She's got some rings that spell out Guts. It's a bit unique, but it's fine. I don't think it's that interesting. She's laying on the floor here, and the thing this tells us about her is that she doesn't like standing or something, so there's not really much there. She's biting her fingers. I don't know, maybe that's a nervous habit and it makes her relatable. There's not really much there either. Her expression, I don't know what it is. It's not very clear. It doesn't really convey a mood. I think she's just trying to look cool and serious because she's on an album cover. I think she's meant to look like fierce and tough because the album is called Guts and she's got guts, but I'm honestly not sure. If that's what they were going for, they didn't do a good job conveying it. Maybe she's hurt. Maybe that's why she's on the ground, but she doesn't look that sad, just kind of serious. Also, the framing is kind of weird. I personally don't like the way they just put her face in the corner and cut off most of her body and her forehead. Maybe they could have zoomed out. It it just looks weird to me. With her makeup, the lipstick kind of sticks out. It's one of the few elements in this album cover, so we are going to see some more of it in the other artwork. The clothes she's wearing aren't very interesting, but it's got some purple in there. I guess it makes her look relatable since she's wearing like everyday clothes. And the way her bra is showing, it's making her look kind of disheveled and not like fully put together, maybe. I don't know. Which brings me to the last element here, which is her nail polish is chipped, which tells you that Olivia might be famous, but she's not perfect all the time. She's just like you. Maybe the reason why it's chipped is because she's biting her nails. So, out of all the stuff we see here, the only thing besides the color purple which really tells us anything is the chipped nail polish. And in my opinion, it's not particularly compelling because it's a pretty small detail and you kind of gotta look closely to spot it. And I don't think it's as bold a statement as they would want you to think. So yeah, it's not a good album cover, but I'm not just here to talk about the cover. I'm a big believer in the album format. I like an album with good theming and a good concept. And yes, that is usually conveyed in the music, but the concept art can help deepen the world of the album, especially since songs can be observed individually, but the album artwork can only be observed in the context of the album as a whole. An album cover should try and tell you what an album's purpose is for existing. It should explain why your album is an actual album and not just a collection of songs. With Guts, I saw the album art before the album came out, but the album art sucked, so it didn't make me more excited for the album. And it didn't really tell me anything about the album, too. So I didn't have anything to look forward to. The only thing that it did tell me is that it's the same Olivia. So, in the lead up to the album, I went and looked at the other concept art to try and see if there's some more information I could gather about what Guts means. There's actually a whole nother second album cover, Target exclusive cover, and Target's always got bangers. Let's check it out. Yeah, this isn't giving us much to work with. She's still laying down. She still likes purple. She's got Converse on now, so that's something different. Maybe she's like a skater. She's got no holes in them though, so kind of a poser, but you know. Uh, yeah, I don't mind this photo, but as an album cover, it doesn't say much. I mean, the walls are completely blank. The bed doesn't even have like pillows or sheets or anything. It's like it's so empty. Really, the only thing that this does show is that she's in her bedroom, which, you know, being a bedroom songwriter, it's kind of like a big part of her relatable teenage aesthetic. But for like conveying meaning, it's not great. And yeah, the other art for this album isn't much better. It's just photos of her wearing purple. So I'm gonna flash some of those. This is like in the CD and in the album. This is the stuff you see. She's like in the pool. She's on a chair. Like I don't know. This one with her boots coming out of the tub is probably my favorite here. Maybe it's like she drank too much and passed out, which is like kind of telling a story, something that none of the other art here does. My problem with the concept art is that the concept, the aesthetic, the through line between all these photos is just purple. It's cohesive, but that's because it's all kind of plain and it's not very ambitious in scope. I feel like most albums you can't just like put the artist in a pool, like the artist is in a pool now and have that work, like have that fit the theme. But here, since the pool is purple, the bathing suit is purple, and the shot isn't busy, so it's like, why not? Why isn't Olivia in a pool? Like, who's gonna call us out on that? Like, that's now what Guts is. Guts is swimming lessons. Guts is freestyle, and Guts is the backstroke. It's 1 a.m. I got work tomorrow, but this recording is taking forever because I can't stay on script and I keep talking about the fucking backstroke. This is why I don't make videos. Anyway, here we have the back cover, which has a focus on her mouth. The chip nail polish is much clearer here. I don't mind this image, but it still doesn't really deepen the concept of Guts, the album. And I'm still confused by what expression she wants to convey. The hands on her face and open mouth indicate surprise, which we see it again on our All American Bitch t-shirt. But here she's kind of just screaming. I think she's angry. She doesn't look surprised. And when we look at the record, we also see her with gritted teeth. Maybe she's in pain. And on another one of the records, we see her making a similar pose to the album cover. This one's like almost sensual, like I don't know what she's supposed to be doing. These emotions feel all over the place, but none of them are really clear or discernible emotions. The singles have slightly better art. Vampire has these purple band-aids, and on Bad Idea Right, she comes off as really crazy. It's got a lot of personality and character. She has some other art for the individual songs on the album, which matches the Guts aesthetic, but none of it's really related to Guts as a whole. It's mostly self-contained. The back cover on the Target exclusive CD shows the Guts rings, the lipstick, and some flowers and some paper. It kind of feels the same as Sour to me. And the last piece of artwork worth looking at is these candles. There's a set saying Guts and a set saying Olivia Rodrigo. I actually like these candles, but I'm going to get to why in a little. The Guts art is bad because the main thing it says is that this is still Olivia Rodrigo who you met on Sour. It doesn't explain what Guts is or why it exists. It makes it feel less like an album and more like a collection of singles. And going into Guts, it seems like it's just going to be Sour too, except this time the concept feels completely underbaked. I guess it looks like it's going to be more serious this time, but barely. And it's basically Sour without everything that made Sour's concept fun, which means that collection of singles that it looks like ends up looking more like Sour B-sides or leftovers. It doesn't feel like its own album. Alright, so we've established the specific reasons why the Guts album concept sucks. So now I'm going to talk about a few ways this album could have been better themed. Going back to that original tweet, Opie says, I miss when the 2010 girls used to give us proper eras. I think that this is an unreasonable expectation. Obviously, not every artist needs to completely reinvent themselves with each album. Two albums can be in the same style or headspace as long as they have a reason to be two distinct separate releases. For example, Arctic Monkeys' sixth album, 2017's Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, shows the band slowing down their music a lot and for the first time stepping away from being a guitar-centered band, now embracing like lounge music and incorporating the piano a lot more. And their seventh album, their most recent one, which is last year's The Car, it's very similar to that, but it leans more into strings and orchestral arrangements. While these two albums are very similar sonically, they stay separate in their theming. Tranquility Base is about a hotel and casino on the moon and washed up rock stars living there, and it's got a darker tone and it's got sci-fi influences. And then The Car, on the other hand, it's not a sci-fi album, so that's the difference between the two albums. So these albums end up coming off as completely different albums, even though sonically they're quite similar. So I think Olivia could make Guts justified by showing her growth as an artist through the cover. That way, the art wouldn't be pitching Guts as a copy of Sour, but it would be pitching Guts as a sequel. And it wouldn't be 100% original, but having Guts embody her growth would give it a thesis statement, a clear central theme, a purpose. How could she do this? Well, the cake that she had on the Target exclusive version of Sour could have been smashed or eaten, or the balloons could have been popped. And we actually saw another balloon on the back cover of the original version of Sour that could have been popped. Actually, one of my first thoughts was with that cake, like the birthday candles could have been melted or blown out to show the progression of the cake. Now, looking back at it, there never were candles, but she actually did put the candles in Guts. So that's why I said I like the candles. Anyway, another way to make the album cover better is if the album cover plays into the meaning of the name Guts. And Olivia said Guts comes from phrases like spill your guts and hate your guts. And it's got a lot of different ways to use it, but basically it's saying that she's emotional. And I don't have a full concept for how to showcase that, but I would have leaned into her emotions instead of showing her looking bored on the bed. I would have shown her angry, which could have reflected the louder and more rock sound on this album. She also could have kept the focus of her mouth on different pieces of album artwork, but showed the mouth in several distinct emotions instead of just whatever. And honestly, she could have just leaned into that manic state she's in on Bad Idea, right? Okay, before I go, I want to give a quick recap on the greater picture on why I dislike this album cover. It feels insignificant. It doesn't add anything to Guts the album, and it doesn't deepen my appreciation of the album. One, there's no action. It's just Olivia. Two, there's no statement. Once again, it's just Olivia. Three, there's no theme. It's still just Olivia. Four, there's no aesthetic. You can't immerse yourself in the world of Guts because purple is not an aesthetic. It's just Olivia. Then in what way is this album cover linked to Guts the album? It could be the album cover to Olivia Rodrigo, Greatest Hits compilation. And also it's not even just Olivia because they couldn't even figure out how to fit her on the fucking album cover correctly. Compare that to the Beyonce self-titled album cover I talked about earlier. Although it's not personally my favorite, it still is very effective as an album cover. It instills a certain feeling as soon as you look at it that this album is going to be big, it's going to be intense, it's going to be significant. And in doing that, it's already ahead of Guts. The fact that this album cover is nothing but her name says that this album is the definitive representation of who Beyonce is. This is her fourth album, and the first not to feature a picture of her on the cover. It's subverting audience expectations as if to say, this is something greater than what you've heard before. It's also saying let the music speak for itself. Beyonce's self-titled is both a music album and a video album. Fancy artwork was decided against because they felt the video album couldn't be properly summed up in just one image. The letters are all caps in a very bold font, but they're pink. It's like girl power that's what it's saying. I forgot to write that in. Also, sometimes album covers aren't that deep and they're just aesthetic. Like, I listen to emo music. I listen to Midwest emo, and I like a lot of the album covers, even though there's, I mean, you could look at these album covers. Yeah, so I think that's it. Hopefully you liked the video. If you did, let me know. Maybe I'll do another talking about album covers I like and why. I know I went really in depth, but I wanted to cover everything so that I could give the specific reasons why I'm not a fan of this album cover. And if you disagree, let me know why you like this album cover. And if you want to watch something else, I did a video talking about my favorite albums of 2022. It's not quite as exciting, but you can check that out if you like. So yeah, thanks for watching. I just started recording today, and I just have like a renewed passion for life as a whole, and that is why, around the 11-minute mark, this video is just transforms into something. It's just a whole new beast that I never thought it could be.